Записываю.
Things don't really matter that much. Now, what do I mean by things? Well, anything that you can perceive, really. Anything that you can see, hear, smell, touch, think. We're mightily deceived. Seeing as we're born into this world, and as we quickly begin to grow in it, our consciousness is flooded with perceptions. Just imagine for a second the sensory explosion that takes place within a newborn's mind. You were just floating around in nothingness, and in a matter of seconds you begin to experience millions of billions of bytes of information. First couple of years, it's all fun and games, if you're not born into poverty, that is. You're a clean page, a virgin mind, unburdened yet by conceptual frameworks and self-identification. Thus you act accordingly, soaking it all in, no filter, feeling the world with a beginner's mind, highly excited by the novelty of it all. This effortless novelty generally doesn't wear off for the first 15 to 20 years of our life, which reinforces a grand illusion, but we'll get to that later. A few years pass and self-consciousness begins to kick in, accompanied by your first introduction to abstract thought. As a functional kid, you now know your name and nationality and begin to figure out that there are some things that you'd prefer to taste more than others. You touch base with the adult world. You notice that they have concerns, putting food on the table, dressing you in wearable clothes, paying the bills, paying the doctors. That kind of makes sense, you feel, albeit a bit disappointed. You were just freely experiencing the world after all, and now it turns out that experiencing has a price tag on it. But the concerns don't stop there. Moving through the years, the excitement of biting new objects and seeing new colors begins to wear off on you. But going to a water park, eating candy bars, flying to a different country, playing video games, boy oh boy, that's just as stimulating as being born again. Guess what though? They not only cost money, but they also cost time. Time that could be spent earning money to pay for more of such things. Time that could be spent on doing something not so stimulating, but that might help you out having more of those things in the future, like going to school. And thus the young paladin is introduced to hedonia. Now, nobody denies him the idea that hedonia is the best thing the world has to offer, but they constantly mention that moderation is key, a notion that falls on deaf ears due to its absurdity. And gosh dang it, the concerns don't stop there either. Emotions are a thing, as you might have noticed. You've learned that the good ones are fun and ought to be maximized, but there are also the bad ones. Now, the bad ones are really tricky. As you explore and try to develop your rapidly evolving identity within the realm of self-consciousness, you notice pangs of pain when someone encroaches upon it. Worst thing is, you're defenseless as long as you're young. The ancients always know best about the world, and they know you better than you know yourself. Thus, when you try to say something funny to make everyone happy at the dinner table, but your father sighs and furrows his brows, and your mother explodes, inquiring, "What were you thinking?" and "Can't you think before you speak?" and accusing you, "We raised you better than that," and "What an unpolite young man." Wowzers, that's a lot to process. Firstly, shame, guilt, embarrassment. You thought yourself to be a part of this world, in particular of this family unit. You moved confidently and freely within it, feeling yourself to be a completely adequate and deserving part of it, a positive part of it, an equally sentient being as your elders, and bam! In your face. Your ego writhes in agony. All of that momentum of life and being come to a sudden halt. You failed. The evidence is the disapproval of others. You did something bad. You weren't good enough. Also, this whole good and bad business seems quite important. You do the bad thing and people frown at you and insult you and you feel shame and anger and a knot in your throat. You do the good thing and people smile and praise you and you feel all warm and fuzzy and proud of yourself. Now this really lays the groundwork for one hell of a samsaric game. Depending on your temperament and predisposition, you might begin learning the ropes of people-pleasing and self-exalting, playing trial and error and carefully examining others to find that Krabby-Patty formula to the things that get you the most praise and the least shame. If you're more inclined towards revolt, you might take another route and bring them to their knees with mischief. Piercings and bad tattoos and a failed rap career will really show the world that you're not afraid to go against the grain. In this case, you'll be getting those unwanted frowns, but the fuzzy pride feeling will be exploding. You've no respect for the system and you don't very much care what others have to say about it. That's how cool you are. Now that's a lot of concerns, young explorer, but you know what's a whole other concern in and of itself? Managing all of those concerns. Gee whiz! We've had a few thousand years to mull it over, and now, with access to literally unlimited amounts of information at your fingertips, you can spend a lifetime just learning that fine craft of balance. Hundreds of thousands of strategies and tactics and famous quotations about how to be maximally happy, minimally unhappy, and feel super good about yourself while you're at it. Productivity hacks, relationship advice, mental health checklists, the best sport regimes, how to make money quick, how to realize your potential, how to be a good person, when is the best time to start your day, healthy and unhealthy habits, journaling, long-term and instant gratification, the diet to lose weight, which people should you surround yourself with, work-life balance, the best books to change your mindset, the best films to change the way you see life, the best TED Talks to get you inspired, the best podcast to teach you something new, being super smart and thoughtful is respectable, by the way, leaving a legacy, giving to charity, art or corporate. The list goes on, as you can imagine. But you best listen very closely and take careful notes. All of this is important. Firstly, you want to be happy, don't you? Then you're gonna have to figure all of this out, and you're gonna have to figure it out quick. Time is ticking and the future is breathing down your neck. Secondly, you don't want to be stupid, do you? You don't want to be a dum-dum and have all of those stupid thoughts that'll get you rotten looks at the dinner table. Well, then you're gonna need a system, baby. Nay, the system. The perfect system. You gotta parse this life thing into neat categories, explain each category, and have an overarching meta explanation of all the categories together. Then, out of this perfectly organized framework, you'll need to draw a few conclusions as to how one ought to act to correspond to this system. That'll be your archetype for the good person. He'll always be happy and doing the right thing, and he can always be proud of himself. Everybody else, well, that's the bad guy. Shame them, put them down, embarrass them. They're bad for the world and they don't understand life as well as you do. They are wrong. If you've got some wits on you, make this thing as intricate, detailed, and sophisticated as humanly possible. This will be important when you have to present and defend it. Make it original and authentic. That'll give you bonus points from the committee. You'll have the fortune of being extra special. Work on your debate skills and defend this thing with all of your might. When people attack your system because they're obviously stupid and haven't figured anything out, do everything you can to leave the table with your system intact. Bonus points if you can convince your opponent into agreeing with your system. That means you're definitely onto something and have all the rights to teach others how to live. Now, worst comes to worst, begin throwing around ad hominems and find ways to prove that your opponent's system is destructive and evil. Yell and scream if you have to, that's all right, but don't you dare jeopardize your system. Die for it. It proves that you understand this world and how to live in it. There is nothing more important than that. Car accident, depression, chronic illness, you're on your deathbed, you're quarantined, you're in prison. Sooner or later, the moment will come when you're isolated from your concerns. Now, if you're near death, then there's definitely no reason to think about concern management either. If you've got a clear mind and a couple of weeks before setting off for the unknown, then you're really lucky. You have time to see things as they are. The illusion of the future and the necessity to worry over it is inevitably dissipating. You may try to grasp at it, but try as you might, the reality and weight of your situation will not allow it. I'm dying. No holidays to plan, no wife to please, no money to make, no book to read, no job to work, no bills to pay, nobody to share your system with. I'm dying. Nothing but that, and yet you're still alive. Alive without all of the things that made up your life. You found yourself in quite a funny situation, sport. You've expended unimaginable amounts of calories on devising the perfect setup. You've explained and understood everything there is to explain and understand, and your concerns were being properly concerned about and managed. But now there is no need. You're alive, time is passing, life continues, but all of it has been rendered absolutely redundant. If it's redundant now, has it been redundant all along? What have you been left with? Nothing. A stark emptiness settles within. It's terrifying. Without all of the noise, there's nothing but the emptiness. Every single sound actually was but an ephemeral wisp in your consciousness. Old friends changed and died. Money was earned and spent. Muscles were grown and deflated. Emotions came and went. There was no actual movement, no progression, no change. Just a flow of perceptions that you failed to see into. Empty, endless, never satisfactory. You chased after bigger happiness for so long that you failed to see that it was a myth. The hedonia had a limit. You just couldn't eat more than a couple of pieces of cake and feel more than a few minutes of sugar rush. But you deluded yourself into believing that the next piece of cake will make all of it worth it. You've forgotten and changed most of the opinions that had made you who you were not a few years prior. They were brain fog, not truth. What have you been left with then? The emptiness? You'd run from it for so long that you failed to see that it was your only unchanging friend. The only thing that didn't run right through your fingers like water or sand. All else? All the things, the sounds, the perceptions, the ego, they were a cacophony to drown out your primitive brain's fear of the unchanging. They never mattered, none of them. Balance? No, you fooled yourself. You were never even close to balance. You remember a quote that you had heard once, something about the modern man getting his happiness off a razor's edge. Made sense now. Too bad you're dying.
Я думаю, сядь сейчас.
Oh my god. Things don't matter.